Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast with your hosts, Reese Downing and Jacob Workman.
What's going on, guys? It is TNT Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast, NFL edition, Week 8. Week 8. We are flying through it. With me, as always, is the fine citizen and co-host, Mr. Jacob Workman. Jake, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Going good. How's everything going?
Oh, not too bad. You and I both didn't have that bad of a week last week, so we're starting to turn things around a little bit. It was a little bit of a rough start to the season, but you finished last week 10-5. You hit both your lock and your dog in KC and Seattle, and you are sitting above 500 at 56-49 for the year. I was one game behind you. I finished 9-6. I did hit my lock with Washington, missed my dog with New England, and I am sitting just under 500 at 52-53. So we are moving right along here. You got a Vegas update for us?
Yeah, so I'm going to start off with a little interesting one here that might be a little foretelling as to what might happen on this show. But teams are 0-4 straight up and against the spread the week after facing the Lions this season, failing to cover by an average of 25.9 points. It's kind of getting tough to ignore at this point, the hangover effect of playing the Lions.
Yeah. That's a little concerning.
And then we also got the Vikings, who just got beat by the Lions on a short week, also playing Thursday night. So that's another thing to go into that. Over teams this year, best teams for the over. The Ravens are 6-1. Seattle and Carolina, Washington, Tampa, New Orleans are all 5-2. I think Carolina is an obvious one because every team can score at will on them. And then best under teams this year, the Giants are 6-1 to the under, the Dolphins are 5-1 to the under, and the Chargers are 5-1 to the under.
That all makes sense. Not very high-powered offenses there.
Right.
So, all right. Well, let's jump into a quick recap here. We're just going to cover one game this week, and it is the two teams that Jake just mentioned, and the Lions and the Vikings. So the Lions won the game 31-29. Goff, another fantastic day, went 22-25 for 280 and 2 touchdowns. He's now the fourth quarterback in NFL history to generate 150 or higher passer rating in 3 straight games. Jahmyr Gibbs, another fantastic day for himself, and he far outpaced Monty in this one. He finished with 15 carries for 116 and 2 touchdowns. Mr. St. Brown was the team's leading receiver, finishing with 8 catches for 112 and a score. On the Vikings side of the ball, Sam Darnold finished with the serviceable 22 for 27 for 259, a touchdown and a pick. Aaron Jones led the rushing attack. He finished with 93 yards and a score on 14 carries, and Justin Jefferson led the receiving corps with 7 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown. Minnesota took advantage of miscues from Detroit pretty early in the first quarter, including penalties, a stuffed fake punt. They built up a 10-0 lead, but Detroit woke up in the second quarter and scored touchdowns on 3 straight possessions, and grabbed a big pick by Brian Branch off a Darnold pass intended for Jordan Addison. So Detroit went into halftime 21-10. Minnesota came out and answered right away with a 12-play drive that culminated in a 25-yard touchdown toss to Justin Jefferson. Detroit did answer right back with the touchdown from Goff to Khalif Raymond. Up 28-17 going into the fourth, though, Minnesota made a late charge that included 2 field goals and a defensive touchdown by Ivan Pace off of a David Montgomery fumble. Minnesota attempted to go for the 2-point conversion to go up by 3, but it was stopped, and that turned out to be a dagger as Detroit's Jake Bates kicked the game-winning field goal with 19 seconds left as the Lions went on to win by 2. Super entertaining game throughout. You could see definitely there was a little bit of a difference with Hutch not being on the field for those first 3 quarters, but the fourth quarter was a hell of a performance. I don't know what Aaron Glenn did as far as adjustments go, but they got 3 sacks and 4 pressures on 6 blitzes. What do you think about the game? How do you feel about this defense after game 1? And do you think that the Lions are still going to try to make a move here to replace Hutchinson, or do you think that they're just going to kind of ride it out as is?
No, there has to be a move to add someone. Our pressures were terrible all game. Yeah, there were some at the end, but I mean, it was situational. I don't think it was still that great. The defense played outstanding though. Like minus the pressures, the defense was outstanding. Brian Branch is everywhere. He can do every single thing. The fact we got him in the second round is amazing. Like to me, he's got to be a favorite for defensive player of the year right now. The way he's been playing, he's literally been everywhere. He reminds me a lot right now of what Jalen Ramsey did when he was at Florida State. Like they can literally put him anywhere on the field and you're pretty much just going to guarantee he's going to make a play. Like he's outstanding. One thing I want to throw in, just going back to a few of the things you read. So Goff, I mean, I think 3 of the last 4 first halves, he hasn't thrown an incomplete pass, which is insane. And they're the Lions are the only team since the merger to have more offensive touchdowns than incompletions in a 4-game span. We have 18 touchdowns in 4 games and 16 incompletions. I unleashed quite the air assault in the NCAA football video game. I couldn't do that for $1 million. Like, the fact that they're doing it in real life against real teams, it's amazing what they're doing right now.
Well, for what it's worth, real life and real teams, you don't have cornerbacks that morph and get a rocket up their ass.
That's true.
But all that said, extremely impressive performance so far by the Lions. I think they are very much the clear-cut team to beat in the NFC. I am crossing my fingers at this point that we get a Ravens-Lions Super Bowl, because that would be so good. So good. The Ravens in their own right, like, they lost those first 2 games and they're looking extremely good as well. But yeah, Lions are looking fantastic, man. Hopefully they can keep healthy. There's still a lot of season left, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with the replacement on Hutch. I know that you just read that Max Crosby's saying he wants to stay in the silver and black. So
yeah,
Reddick also signed his contract with the Jets, so it's getting a little thin out there.
The big name you're seeing right now is Zadarius Smith, which I want more than Zadarius Smith, but I mean, he's at least something, but I think we're going to need more. I mean, he's going to be cheap at least. We're not going to have to give up the world for him. So that's one thing with him. But I really wish that there would be a bigger splash. Like, to me, I kind of said it last week, but like, it's getting more and more evident as the weeks go by. San Francisco is in a lot of trouble. Like, they're potentially without McCaffrey, Kittle, Ayuk, Debo this week. Like, when Brock Purdy's your only option, your offense is going to be shit. Like, to me, the Niners and Cowboys are playing a game this week that the loser might be eliminated from the playoffs. And I mean, this early in the season, it's crazy to say that, but I mean, we're talking very shitty record for whoever loses that game. And when going into the year, you think of the Lions, you think of the Niners, you think of the Cowboys. I mean, there's not a lot of other teams that are really going. I mean, Tampa just lost Godwin and Evans for who knows how. Well, Godwin's out for the year.
Yeah, so Godwin's done.
Yeah, so I mean, there's situations there too. Like, the Hutchinson injury happened, but it's kind of lining up like the perfect season. Again, this is my go out and make the splash. We have to get someone here that is a game changer and can solidify our run to the Super Bowl here. I think this is the year. So I just hope we don't sit back. I do think Zadarius Smith is, I would assume, more than likely probably going to be on our team, but I hope that that's not it. I hope that there's still another splash. And I've even seen some stuff. We play Tennessee this week. I've seen some talk that maybe after we play them, there's a chance that maybe even DeAndre Hopkins could be an option for us, which I'm not that huge on. It's not that big of a need. I mean, Jameson Williams has a pending suspension now, so that's interesting. It was not announced today officially by the NFL, which everyone thinks is kind of odd, but they're not saying it's not going to happen. But the fact it wasn't announced today is kind of interesting. And again, with this suspension shit, like his suspension, if it does happen, seemingly is going to be just from some wrong medication or wrong supplement or something like that. And again, he's going to get punished 2 games for this when we've got guys. It's just crazy. Like Rasheed, he got injured, so it's kind of irrelevant. But Rice on the Chiefs, we got guys going 180 miles an hour and they're still playing, but he
takes a medication that he didn't know.
He could have had a vitamin that didn't even have something in it that he didn't know, and now he's getting 2 games. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's crazy what they're doing in the NFL, but 2-game suspension, and unfortunately, Tennessee, I'm not that worried about. But next week we play the Packers in Green Bay, so I mean that's a huge loss. So hopefully we get this figured out. If it is a receiver we go after to add, cool, but obviously pass rush is a must. We have to add 1, if not 2 guys there.
Yeah, I don't know why you would waste draft picks to go pick up a receiver when you guys already have arguably the best offense in the league right now.
But so the thing is, and Tim Patrick is playing very well, so I've been very happy with Tim Patrick, but the thing is we don't have a true number one receiver. So if you could go out and put someone, especially, I mean, if DeAndre Hopkins if we can get him for a 3rd round pick or something like that, hell yeah, add him. Like, I mean, it's
you
kind
don't
of
have a true number 1, or you don't have a true number 2.
No, we don't have a true number 1. We don't have an outside true number 1 receiver. Amon-Ra lines up inside. Jameson Williams lines up inside. Like, we don't have a true X that lines up outside.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Tim Patrick is being for us right now.
Yeah,
and
I understand what you're saying.
So, I mean, if we could replace that with DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, Tim Patrick's played well. Don't get me wrong, but there's a big difference in DeAndre Hopkins and Tim Patrick.
Oh yeah, 100%. And
So,
DeAndre Hopkins, his time is getting wasted sticking around in Tennessee,
Yes.
which is why I was going to bring up another guy that is not being talked about, but I think should be considered because his career is being wasted in Cleveland right now, and it's Myles Garrett.
yeah, there's
Myles
been talk of
Garrett
that too.
You start hearing a little bit as far as rumors are going, but Myles Garrett is racking up seasons in this league, and he's not ever going to do shit in Cleveland. I would love to see Myles Garrett go to a team that competes, so he has an opportunity to do something bigger, because if he's going to stick in Cleveland for the rest of his career, like, he's going to go down as the greatest Cleveland Brown in history, but that's like, being the greatest middle schooler. I don't even know. Like, I hope for bigger things for Myles Garrett, because he is an extremely impressive football player, and his best years are getting wasted right now being stuck in Cleveland. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep track of all that stuff. Speaking of the trades and all the moving on, players that are moving and stuff like that, specifically with receiver, 2 major receivers landed in the AFC East this week with the likes of Amari Cooper, who got traded from Cleveland, is now in Buffalo. And then we've got Devontae Adams, who obviously landed with the Jets. No pun intended there. Devontae's first game finished 3 catches, 30 yards. Jets still got slobber knocked by the Steelers 37-15. Amari Cooper finished with 4 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown. The Bills won 34-10. They did play the Titans, so not that tough of an opponent. It's still early, but if you look at the current state of where the Bills are at with Josh Allen and all of those guys, Keon Coleman is really starting to look really good as a rookie. That's your boy from Florida State. And then you look at the pieces that they have right now with New York and how poorly really Aaron Rodgers is playing, because I don't think he's been playing that well, to be honest with you. Who do you think, by the end of the year, do you see one of these guys making a bigger impact over the other when it comes to these teams potentially getting to the playoffs and making a deep run?
I think season-wise, Devontae is going to have the better season, but that doesn't mean that Cooper is not the more important player. It's kind of hard to say right now, because there's a lot of unknown with these two teams still. Like, I'm still not that big on Buffalo, and I'm definitely not big on the Jets. They've got a lot going on there, but yeah, I don't know. I would say Cooper realistically is probably the more important, just because I think Buffalo is going to have a better season. So he's going to be probably the one dependent on more. Plus, he's the veteran of the locker room now, going into a very young receiver room. So I think he's going to have more on his shoulders anyway.
I'm excited for Keon Coleman, because Amari Cooper is pretty much, he's a consummate professional. He's been a very good football player in the league for a very long time. Gets an opportunity to play with a decent quarterback, and Keon Coleman's got a good person to look up to and to learn from. So I'm excited to see what happens there, but I think Amari Cooper's going to make a bigger impact by the end of this season anyway. Moving along here, because we're already 15 minutes in. We still got games and stuff to pick, and there's still a lot to cover here. The Week 9 game between the Indianapolis Colts and the Minnesota Vikings has been flexed to Sunday Night Football. The game that was originally slotted there, which was the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Philadelphia Eagles, that's been bumped down to the 4 p.m. kickoff. So NFL doing right, putting some teams up in the primetime matchup to hopefully draw some ratings. Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel said in a Monday presser that quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is set to return to practice this week, and barring a setback, the team plans to start him against the Arizona Cardinals. Later the same day, Tua was at a presser and was asked if he plans on wearing the new Guardian cap, in his return from his 3rd concussion since he's joined the NFL. His response was no, and then when somebody grilled him on it, he just said it was a personal choice. The QB went on to say he hasn't experienced any concussion symptoms since the first day after he suffered the concussion in the Week 2 loss against the Bills. and that he's had no conversations about retiring from the game during his time on IR. He then went on to elaborate that there's, quote, some gray area in terms of what doctors believe in terms of long-term impact of concussions, and that playing football is what makes him happy, and that's what he's going to do. It is worth noting that running back Davon Achane did wear the Guardian cap against the Colts on Sunday in his return from his own concussion. Jake, what are your thoughts on Tua's decision to play without the extra protection, despite this being his third concussion? And more importantly, his comment about there still being some gray area in what the long-term impacts of the CTE stuff is happening with these NFL players.
Yeah, I mean, the gray area thing, I think you kind of have to say that because obviously they're not going to be like, oh, we can guarantee this or we can guarantee that. I mean, obviously there's potential bad things that happen from multiple concussions, and that's been proven over the years. But the Guardian cap, I mean, I guess I understand it. Like, it's up to him. It's his choice. I do know on this concussion, like you just said, when he had it, he was pretty much symptom free the whole time. So it seems like more of a precautionary thing where they put him on IR. Just want to make sure, get him checked out, make sure everything was clearing. But I mean, my thing is he's just got to he's got to figure something out because he seems to, I mean, you said 3, it feels like it's been 300. Like, I feel like he gets a concussion almost every game. So I don't know, that to me is the situation. Like, I know last year he did jujitsu or some shit to where he learned to fall better, and it did seem to help him last year, but clearly, I mean, instantly this year he had an issue. So I don't know. I mean, again, I think it's his decision. Do what you want. I mean, we obviously know that there's a greater risk involved, but I mean, it's football. There's a risk involved anyway. So and honestly, these Guardian caps, I mean, there's not that much proof in those yet either because they're still relatively new. So, I mean, who's to say that, hell, even though it's gigantic, who's to say his head doesn't get slammed off the turf? He still doesn't get a concussion anyway with that on. So, and I get it. It lowers the percentage chance, but still, I mean, I think the risk is the risk.
Yeah. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. There's also a reason why you're required to wear a seatbelt when you drive a vehicle. I'm not. It's at what point in time, especially because the NFL is going to end up paying for his healthcare after he retires potentially, right? So like, at what point, I think we're getting to a point if these concussions continue to help, and especially if we get some data that shows that the Guardian caps has either helped prevent concussions. I don't even know how they're exactly going to do that without having some sort of technical device that's inside the helmet to be able to measure impact and things like that. But obviously they've done enough testing to know that it somewhat has a positive impact on it. At what point does the NFL step in and say, like, look, if you're coming back from a concussion, you're required to wear this for the next X amount of games. And then if you don't get a concussion after so many, I mean, I don't know. It is his choice at the end of the day, just like it's your choice to wear whether or not you want to wear a helmet when you're riding a motorcycle.
Yeah.
But I think Tua's got to take a step back and think about his future with his family and stuff like that, man. I mean, this concussion stuff's no joke. And we've seen a lot of players that have just gone off the rails. Antonio Brown and a lot of these guys, like a lot of the older dudes before concussions were really a big thing. Have gone through a lot of health concerns and stuff. And that's come out as this has gotten more information. I think Tua is not making the smart play here by doing whatever he can to try to protect himself, but hopefully he doesn't get hurt again. A good start would be not to run headfirst towards a defender, which is what happened last time. So this wasn't a jiu-jitsu situation. All right. Giants quarterback Daniel Jones was pulled from Sunday's 28-3 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles in favor of backup QB Drew Lock, but head coach Brian Daboll has announced that Danny Dimes will remain the team starter moving forward. He doesn't have a whole lot of other options there, so it's not that surprising. Jets linebacker Hassan Reddick did come to an agreement on a reworked contract with the franchise on Sunday. He was at the team facility on Monday, plans to make a season debut this week against the New England Patriots. Interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich did say that it's a little too early to say if he's going to be good to go this week, but Reddick sounds like he's ready. Interesting stat, Lamar Jackson now 23-1 against NFC teams. It's a pretty crazy statistic. Lamar is owning the NFC so far in his career. Injury updates. A rough night for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 2024 just continues to decimate this team. Mike Evans was dealing with a hamstring injury going into the game. He almost didn't play. Then in the second quarter, going up for a catch in the end zone, appears to re-injure his hamstring on an incomplete pass. He is scheduled for an MRI. It sounds like he may be missing some time. And then the worst part about this, in garbage time, Chris Godwin, really bad tackle, dislocated his ankle. It was pretty gruesome injury. He is expected to have surgery and is going to be out for the rest of the season. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson will miss the remainder of the 2024 season after tests confirm he did suffer a torn Achilles in Sunday's 21-14 loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. Quarterback Dorian Thompson Robinson, who came in to take over for the injured Deshaun Watson, suffered a fingered injury during the game, is undergoing evaluations to determine the severity of the injury. We'll see if we get Jobu out on the field this week. Colts running back Jonathan Taylor is expected to return to practice this week after missing the last 3 games with an ankle injury. Chiefs wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster will miss KC's Week 7 game against the Raiders due to a hamstring injury. Cornerback Jalen Watson also suffered a fractured ankle during Sunday's win over the Niners. He is undergoing tests to determine how long he'll be out. Raiders quarterback Aiden O'Connell will be placed on IR after tests confirmed that he suffered a fractured thumb on Sunday in Vegas's 5-point loss to the Rams. Dolphins wide receiver Braxton Berrios has been placed on IR with a knee injury. He'll be out for at least 4 weeks. Saints quarterback Derek Carr had some throwing sessions the past couple days as he eyes a return back from his oblique injury. Spencer Rattler will continue to be the starter until he returns. Chris Olave is still in concussion protocol. Jets offensive lineman Xavier Newman was carted off the field on a backboard Sunday night during the team's loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers, was taken to the hospital, but he did fly home with the team Sunday night, so he appears to be okay. Commanders rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels is week to week after suffering a rib injury in the first quarter of the game against the Panthers. He's not definitively been ruled out of the game, but it does seem like a little bit of a long shot. We touched base on this a little bit ago, but Niners wide receiver Brandon Ayuk is confirmed to be out for the rest of the season after suffering a torn ACL and MCL in Sunday's loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. It was also announced that it is not probable that Christian McCaffrey is going to play in this week's game. It does look like he may be back in week 9. Seahawks wide receiver DK Metcalf is listed as week to week with an MCL sprain. Cowboys rusher Micah Parsons' status is up in the air for Sunday's matchup against the Niners. Rams Cooper Kupp is set to return Thursday night in their Thursday night matchup against the Minnesota Vikings, although head coach Sean McVay said that his workload is to be determined. And finally, Vikings tight end TJ Hawkinson, who's been out recovering from a torn ACL and MCL that he suffered late last year, is reportedly very close to coming back and may return as soon as this Thursday, but his practice window is close to closing, so they're going to have to make a call on him sooner than later.
Yeah, it seems like there was some news today that Cooper Kupp might be on the move, and actually some rumors that Stafford might be on the move, which is something I brought up like a few weeks ago when I think it was even the Tua injury when I brought that up. But Cooper Kupp probably on the move. I saw favorites right now were the Chiefs, the Vikings, and no, not the Vikings. The Chiefs, the Steelers, and I believe the Eagles might have been the other one, with the Chiefs being the favorite.
I mean, as much as bad as it is to say, I'd rather see him in a Chiefs uniform than any of the other teams that you just listed. But
yeah, Cooper, I just hope Cooper can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Another interesting rumor I saw today in the Stafford world was, and it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But rumors are rumors. And I mean, you never know what's going to happen. If you want to go try to win a Super Bowl, the Vikings were intrigued on trading for Stafford, repairing him with Kevin O'Connell. And I really hope that doesn't happen. Put him in the division, but it'd be an interesting pairing. But with the way that their team's playing, and like I said, like if you're a team that's good right now in the NFC, I think you sell out this year. Like the big teams all have injuries right now, with the exception of us. And I mean, we lost our best defensive player, so it's hard to say we don't have injuries. But I mean, if there's a year in the NFC, I think you sell out and try. So
yeah.
And we got what? 2 weeks from today, I believe, is the trade deadline. So we got 2 weeks to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. We'll keep an eye out for everything. Let's move into our week 8 picks here, guys. All right. Thursday night football matchup features the 5-1 now Minnesota Vikings as they travel to the Wood to take on the 2-4 LA Rams. 8:20 p.m. kickoff at SoFi Stadium on Amazon Prime. Last week, Minnesota coming off their first loss of the season in a tight battle that resulted in a 2-point loss against the division rival Lions in Minneapolis, while the Rams stay at SoFi after a 5-point victory over the Raiders. Over under 48.5. Minnesota is favored by 3.
Yeah, I talked about it earlier. There's a hangover when you play the Lions. The Rams obviously are a little beat up. Puka Nacua did get cleared today to start practicing, so he'll be back in a few weeks. Cooper Kupp, obviously, it's a little situation there because if he's going to be traded, I doubt that they're going to play him Thursday. I don't think that would make much sense, but maybe they do just to kind of prove he's healthy also. So who knows? And Stafford, I mean, if he's going to go to the Vikings, if there's ever a week, here's your audition. So I'm going to take the Rams just because of the Lions hangover factor. It's a short week, a tough loss. I mean, it's not a tough place to play, but still a tough coach to prepare against. And the Vikings offense, Sean McVay kind of knows that offense. So I think they got a little bit of an edge there too. So I'm going to take the Rams.
Yeah, Minnesota's rush D doesn't get a break this week, having to deal with Kyren Williams and potentially the return of Cooper Kupp. I kind of think this is going to be a bounce back win for Minnesota. So maybe this is a shake off from the Detroit Lions hangover. I'm going to take the Vikings here minus the points. We'll see what happens with it. No more London games. This week kicks off our Sunday matchups as they're at their normal time. We start with the interconference matchup as the 3-4 Arizona Cardinals fly to Magic City to face off against the 2-4 Miami Dolphins. 1 p.m. kickoff at Hard Rock Stadium on Fox. Arizona's coming off a Monday night victory over the Chargers by way of a game-winning field goal, while the Dolphins return home after a 6-point loss at the hands of the Colts. 46.5 over under. Miami is favored by 3.
God, this one's tough. I'm going to go with the Cardinals plus the 3. This is a tough game.
Yeah, it is a tough game. Short week, early matchup for a West Coast team in Arizona. I just don't think it's favorable, so I'm going to take Miami here to win and cover. Next up, the 2-5 New York Jets continue their road trip as they head to Foxborough to take on the 1-6 New England Patriots. 1 p.m. kickoff at Gillette Stadium on CBS. Jets have now lost 4 in a row and are coming off a 22-point loss at the hands of the Steelers in Pittsburgh, while the Patriots haven't won since week 1 and return home from London after a 16-point loss at the hands of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over-under is 41.5. New York is favored by 7.
Yeah, New England coming back from London, and then their defense has been abysmal. Clearly, I think we're starting to see signs of the effect of Bill Belichick not being there. I think if there's ever a week that the Jets offense might show signs of life, it's this one. So I'm going to take the Jets minus the 7, even though it's kind of a lot for the Jets, but I just don't think New England's that good.
Yeah, neither of these teams have looked particularly good. Clear talent swing on one side, though, with the Jets. Another week of Rodgers and Devontae back together. I'm going to take the Jets here minus the points. 4-2 Philadelphia Eagles head to Queen City to battle the 3-4 Cincinnati Bengals. 1 p.m. kickoff at Paycor Stadium on CBS. Eagles got a 28-3 road win against the New York Football Giants last week, while the Bengals return home after a road trip to Cleveland where they beat the Browns by 7. Both teams are looking to make their third straight victory. Over-under is 47.5. Cincy is favored by 2.5.
Yeah, back-to-back road trips for Philly. I think Cincinnati's got it going a little bit. 2.5 scares me, though. There's a reason they're not making it a little higher. So I'm going to take Philly plus 2.5.
Yeah, since he's still looking for their first home win of the season, they're going to need to slow down Saquon to get the W here. But I am going to take the Bengals minus the points to keep their momentum going. Next up, the 5-2 Green Bay Packers head to Duval County to take on the 2-5 Jacksonville Jaguars. 1 p.m. at Everbank Stadium on Fox. Packers are coming off a 2-point home win against the Houston Texans and have won 3 straight, while the Jags finally return from their second home in London after getting a 16-point victory over the New England Patriots. Over under 49.5. Green Bay is favored by 4.5.
Yeah, so I feel extremely dumb for not making this my lock of the week. So I'm throwing a bonus lock of the week this week. The Packers minus 4.5. I don't know why this is so low. The Jacksonville's just been in London for 2 weeks. I mean, yeah, I know they came back and scored some points and beat New England, but that's New England. This is a whole different team. I think 4.5 is crazy to me. I'm taking Green Bay. Bonus lock of the week.
Yeah, Packers are coming off a 2-point home win against the Texans. They've won 3 straight. Jags returning home from their second home in London, but I'm with you. I'm taking love in Green Bay here to win and cover. 4-3 Atlanta Falcons are heading to the Gulf Coast for an NFC South showdown as they face off against the 4-3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 1 p.m. kickoff at the Ray J on Fox. Atlanta hits the road after a 20-point loss to the Seahawks, while Tampa stays home and looks to life without both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin after a 10-point loss to the Ravens last night. 45.5 over under. Atlanta is favored by 2.5.
Yeah, there's just too many injuries on Tampa right now for me, with little uncertainty. So I'm going to take Atlanta minus the 2.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. Injuries are decimating this team. I'm taking Atlanta. Next up, the 5-2 Baltimore Ravens continue their road trip as they head to the Midwest to match up against the 1-6 Cleveland Browns, 1 p.m. at Cleveland Browns Stadium on CBS. Baltimore is coming off that 10-point victory over the Bucs in Tampa last night and is looking for their 6th straight win, while the Browns are looking to avoid 6 straight losses after a 7-point loss to the Bengals, where they also lost to Deshaun Watson for the season. Over under in this one is 44.5. Baltimore is favored by 9.5.
Yeah, the Browns did sign Bailey Zappi today. So they got Zappi, they got DTR, but it's not going to matter because this is the week that I've been waiting for. I believe Jameis is going to be the starter. I'm taking Cleveland and Jameis plus 9.5.
I am with you. I honestly think that Watson not being in is going to help the team. They also have Chubb back in the mix. Spread's a little heavy here, but I'm going to stick with Baltimore. They've been rolling. So I'm going to go Ravens here minus the 9.5. Next up is an AFC South battle as the 4-3 Indianapolis Colts head to Space City to take on the 5-2 Houston Texans. 1 p.m. kickoff at NRG Stadium on CBS. Indy hits the road after getting a 6-point win over the Dolphins and look to make it 3 straight W's, while the Texans return home from to Houston after a tight 2-point loss at the hands of Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. Over under is 46.5. The Texans are favored by 5.5.
Yeah, if Flacco was playing, that'd be one thing, but Anthony Richardson's legs can only get him so far. I like Houston at home minus the 5.5.
Yep. Week 1 matchup was an entertaining game. I don't think it's going to be as close this time around. I am going to take the Texans at home to win and cover. We have another interconference battle as the 1-5 Tennessee Titans head to Motor City to battle the 5-1 Detroit Lions, 1 p.m. at Ford Field on Fox. Tennessee continues their road trip and looks to avoid 3 straight losses after a 24-point drubbing from the Bills, while the Lions look to make it 5 straight wins after getting a 2-point win over the NFC North rival Vikings. Over under 45.5. Lions are favored pretty heavily here, 10.5.
Yeah, the line's kind of big. We obviously just had a tough game. We got a huge game next week, so there's a little bit of a look ahead. Tennessee, though, you got to think, there could be some guys being traded, so you never know what exactly they're going to have when it comes to availability. So I do like the Lions at home minus the 10.5.
Yeah, Lions are red hot. Tennessee can't protect the ball. Significant spread, but I'm still rolling with Motor City here minus the points. The first of our 4 p.m. matchups features the 2-5 New Orleans Saints as they head west to Cali to match up against the 3-3 LA Chargers. 4:05 p.m. kickoff at SoFi Stadium on Fox. New Orleans started the season hot, but's lost 5 straight, most recently a 23-point home loss against the Broncos. Meanwhile, the Chargers return home after losing to the Cardinals on a last-second field goal in Arizona. Over-under on this one is 39.5. The Chargers are favored by 7.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers minus the 7.5. A little bit of a tough loss last night, but Herbert was slinging it all over the place. I don't trust the Saints without Carr, so I'm going to take the Chargers.
Yeah, the Saints defense also can't stop a nosebleed right now. I don't know what's going on with them, but yeah, I'm also going to be sticking with the Chargers here to win and cover. Next up, we have the 5-2 Buffalo Bills traveling west to Rain City to face off against the 4-3 Seattle Seahawks. 4:05 p.m. kickoff at Lumen Stadium on Fox. Buffalo is looking for their 3rd straight win after a 24-point victory over the Titans in Orchard Park, while the Seahawks return home after a 20-point statement road win over the Atlanta Falcons. Over-under on this one is 47.5, and the Bills are favored by 3.
Yeah, so DK right now is day-to-day. That's a big decision in who I pick in this game. If DK plays, I like Seattle, so I'm going to take Seattle plus the 3.
Yeah, Josh Allen's been lights out the past couple weeks. Now he's got another weapon in Amari Cooper. Seattle's going to need to figure out how to slow down James Cook, but I do think that this Seattle defense is starting to pick things up a little bit. And to your point earlier, well, I guess this was actually mentioned in the college show, but Ryan Grubb has got this offense looking pretty good. So I am going to take Seattle here plus the points. The 4-2 Chicago Bears head south to Landover to take on the 5-2 Washington Commanders. 4:25 p.m. kickoff at Northwest Stadium on CBS. Chicago is coming off a bye week. They've won 3 straight, most recently a victory over the Jags in London. Commanders, meanwhile, are coming off a 33-point beatdown of the Panthers, but are likely to be without their star rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels as he continues recovering from a rib injury that he suffered during last week's home win. Over-under on this one is 43.5, and Chicago is favored by 2.5.
Yeah, that's what I wish we knew. I know his mom sent a tweet out saying he was fine, but we haven't got any indication if Jaden Daniels is going to play or not. So I I honestly think Mariota could probably beat the Bears anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and take a risk and take the Commanders plus 2.5, hoping that Daniels plays.
Yeah, I'm approaching this as if Daniels is not going to play just because the Commanders are playing really well right now. And I think if they have to sit him out a week to make sure that he doesn't sustain a longer term injury, I think they're going to do that. Mariota didn't look bad in service of Daniels when he came in, but it was also the Carolina Panthers. So I don't know if that's Mariota in Kingsbury's offense or if that's Mariota against Carolina. For that reason, I'm going to take Chicago here minus the points to get the road win. But if Jaden Daniels does end up healthy and he is going to play, then I would flip that and go to Washington. Speaking of the Panthers, the 1-6 Carolina Panthers are heading to the Rockies to take on the 4-3 Denver Broncos. 4:25 p.m. kickoff at Empower Field at Mile High Stadium on CBS. Carolina will try to avoid their fifth straight loss after a 33-point L at the hands of the Commanders, while the Broncos are 4-1 in their last 5 and are coming off a 23-point win over the Saints last Thursday night. Over under on this one, 43.5. Denver favored by 8.5.
Yeah, I'm never picking the Panthers. I don't care what the team is and what the spread is they're playing. So I'm taking Denver minus 8.5.
Yeah, I literally just have here, keep it simple, Denver minus the points. So that's what it is. Next up, 6-0 Kansas City Chiefs continue their road trip as they fly to Sin City to take on the 2-5 Vegas Raiders. 4:25 p.m. kickoff at Allegiant Stadium on CBS. KC is now the only undefeated team left in the league after getting a 10-point win over the 49ers in San Francisco. Meanwhile, the Raiders return to paradise after a 5-point road loss at the hands of the LA Rams and have lost 3 straight. Over under 42.5, spread 9.5, favoring Kansas City.
Yeah, still some interesting situations going on in Vegas. Obviously, we got the Crosby situation, and I mean, just pending trade deadline stuff. Antonio Pierce last week against the Rams made one of the most interesting decisions I've ever seen in my life. The Raiders, we've talked about it for like 3 or 4 weeks now about how they're just in complete disarray. They were down 8 against the Rams with like 2 minutes left, and they were at like the 10-yard line, and they kicked the field goal instead of going for the game-tying touchdown. It still makes no sense to me. Clearly, there's a lot of things going wrong in Vegas, and that was another one. Welcome, you get to play Patrick Mahomes and the only undefeated team left in the NFL. I'm going to take the Chiefs minus 9.5.
Yeah, KC keeps finding ways to win despite Mahomes not having his best season. I don't think that changes here, so I'm going to take the Chiefs to win and cover. All right, Sunday Night Football matchup features the 3-3 Dallas Cowboys as they head to the Bay Area to take on the 3-4 San Francisco 49ers. 8:20 p.m. kickoff at Levi's Stadium on NBC. Dallas is coming off a very much needed bye week as they look to right the ship after an ugly home loss at the hands of the Detroit Lions, while the Niners stay home and look to shake off a 10-point home loss at the hands of Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Over under on this is 46.5. San Fran is favored by 4.5.
Yeah, I just think the Niners have too many injuries. I mean, I know Dallas has injuries also, but I think they're still in a little bit better shape than San Francisco is. I don't know what San Francisco's offense is going to do. So I like Dallas to rebound from the Lions loss and come off the bye and get the cover and probably even the outright win.
Yeah, Dallas has been playing better on the road than at home this season. Hoping we get Parsons back. That's to be determined. But either way, I'm going to go with Dallas here to at least cover the spread. Our Monday night football matchup is in another interconference battle as the 2-5 New York Football Giants head to Three Rivers to take on the 5-2 Pittsburgh Steelers. 8:15 p.m. kickoff at Acrisure Stadium on ESPN. Giants look to avoid 3 straight losses after a 28-3 loss at the hands of the Eagles, while the Steelers stick at home and are looking for 3 straight wins after a 22-point victory over the New York Jets. Over under in this one is a lofty 36.5. Pittsburgh is favored by 5.5.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point where I don't think I can pick the Giants either. Carolina and the Giants are kind of my two, like, I don't care who you're playing situations. I'm going to take Pittsburgh at home minus the 5.5. Russ came back, turned it on, looked really good. I just like what Pittsburgh's doing right now. I think they're a sneaky team. I'm going to take Pittsburgh minus 5.5.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is looking good. I'm still not 100% convinced on the swap from Fields to Russ, but Russ did look good. He did have to, it took a little bit of time to shake it off, the rust, but He looked really good in the second half of that game, especially. Giants are in a tough spot with the whole Danny Dimes situation. Pittsburgh defense is going to give this team problems, so I am going to take Pittsburgh minus the points to win and cover at home as well. We have no bye weeks or no bye week teams this week. Everyone is playing, so full slate of games this week. Let's move into locks. Jake, who is your lock for the week?
My lock of the week is going to be Dallas plus 4.5 on the road at San Francisco.
Let's go.
Like I just mentioned, there's way too many injuries for San Francisco. I can't trust them this week, so I'm going to take Dallas plus 4.5.
Probably just gave my boys the dagger. We're going to lose by 30, but we'll see what happens here.
I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, I know you won't. I'm keeping it simple. If you're playing the Carolina Panthers, I'm locking in on you. And this week it is the Denver Broncos. So Broncos are at home, tough defense. I'll take Denver over Carolina. Dogs. Jake, who's your dog for the week?
Hey, I gave it away already. Thursday night, give me the Rams to beat the Vikings at home plus 124.
All right. My dog of the week is Seattle over Buffalo. Seattle's defense looked good last week against Atlanta. Crowd should be fired up for a big game against a strong team. So let's go Hawks is my dog of the week. All right, guys, that is it for us for week 8. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Check out the college podcast. We're a lot of parity in both the NFL and in the NCAA this year. If you don't typically watch college football, definitely check that out. There is not one team that we would definitively say is 100% the best team in the country. There's a lot of parity happening in the college football right now, and the same thing's happening with the NFL. Makes it a little tough to bet, but it makes the games a lot more fun to watch. So for Jacob Workman, this is Reese Downing, TNT Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast, NFL Edition Week 8. That is it for us. We will see you guys next Tuesday.
See you, everyone.